Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon is a fantastic title. I knew nothing about this game or this series, but the instant I heard the name about half a year ago, I knew that it had to be mine. And so here it is, let's find out what it's all about. Now, I'm not going to sit here and BS my way through this review pretending I know all about this series, but from my research, it started out as a novel for teenagers. It morphed into a manga and anime shows, as all things do in Japan. It's called Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon, but it's often shortened to Damachi. I guess they didn't think my acronym was snappy enough. This is a world of adventure. Bell, our young hero, is new to the dungeon diving gig. As we begin the story, his grandpa told him of the glory to be had while exploring the dangers below, and especially of the potential pickups while rescuing damsels in distress. He's a naive young fellow, recently brought in by a goddess into her clan sort of thing. Look, firstly, while the plot is very easy to follow once you're in it, the world and its workings, the terminology and such, is quite the mystery to those uninitiated. The lore is something that you'll have to gradually sponge from the game. So, our red-eyed, snowy-haired protagonist is on a mission one day when he runs into a bit of trouble himself. A monster far too strong for his current level is about to run him through, until the cool, collected swordswoman Ace saves his life and he is totally smitten. What I enjoyed about the storytelling here is that chapters are played out from different perspectives. You'll see each of the characters' viewpoint within the same time period until the chapter ends, where the stories conveniently converge before moving on to the next chapter. I'm sure that fans of the series will enjoy the story here. Perhaps it's a retelling of events already told in other media, I have no idea. But as someone whose knowledge of the series is literally equal to that of like a manatee, I actually became fascinated by the concepts and lore found in this universe. It seems right up my alley and I'm interested to find out more. In terms of gameplay, well, if you've been watching the trailers leading up to this release, you'd be forgiven for being completely clueless as to what it's actually all about. Don't worry, I was too. Even when I popped it into my Switch for the first time, I was somewhat anxious to find out for sure. You look at the screenshots, the trailers, and I wouldn't blame you for thinking that this was a visual novel, because all the PR seems ashamed of the fact that actually this game is a fairly basic but enjoyable dungeon crawler. The game is split between the story sections, the town sections, and the dungeons themselves. There's very little in terms of the town areas, it's all menu driven, no exploration, basically like kind of Etrian Odyssey, old school style. It's minimal. You can head to your home to improve your stats, head to the market to buy or beef up equipment, chat to some characters and select which missions you want, either side quests or to advance the story. The story is quite a big focus. The before and after sections of the dungeon crawling are ripe with long dialogue scenes between characters, and don't worry guys, there's often a drop of fan service in there too. Whether it be a completely random shower scene with strategically placed bubbles, or just trying out a bunny outfit during a shopping trip, Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon has you covered in the fan service area. It's not over-the-top hilarity in the sense of something like Omega Labyrinth Live, but on the other hand, it's probably still not the kind of game you want to play on the bus to work. In fact, my mother-in-law did walk in on me right at the perfect time during one of the shower scenes, which was quite painful for everyone involved. That woman just has the best timing in the world. But once you're in the dungeon, you can relax about who may be watching over your shoulder. It's a basic dungeon rusher in real time rather than turn-based. It's not a mystery dungeon game or anything, which I'm slightly disappointed with, but that's my own fault. I'm not holding the game against my initial expectations. You move around with full analog control with a basic hack and slash attack, plus a more wide-reaching powerful attack, but that leaves you vulnerable for a second or two. You have magic also, and as you walk around the dungeon, either looking for the next floor or objective, shadow monsters will regularly pop up in your path. The action is mindless. You attack, retreat while the enemy has their go, and then hack once more. There's very little depth here, aside from gauging the time before enemies attack or, looking at their attack signals. It reminded me of the Pokemon Rumble games, which is not exactly a flattering comparison, but you know what? I was initially disappointed with how simple this is, but then I laid back, I turned my brain off for a while, and I started to really quite enjoy it. The attack, dodge roll, attack again nature appeal to my enjoyment of the equally mindless Dynasty Warriors series. It has a pick up and play nature to it due to the shortness of many of the missions involved. Missions can range from reaching a certain floor, finding an item, killing a defined amount of enemies, And all of these can potentially have a time limit involved. There's enough variety here, and you don't always start from the first floor. The game shifts you around even early on, as the more experienced ice can take on more dangerous enemies. It's pretty easy in the beginning. The general missions will be mostly a cakewalk, but the boss battles took me by surprise. The first boss presented was when I knew I had to sit up and get my game on. A thrilling battle ensued, a hard-fought victory after multiple tries. Yeah, I died many times on the first boss. Now, let me explain this release. This game was released in Japan late last year, but that Japanese release did not have English on it. But this release I have in my hands now is for Asian regions like Hong Kong, Taiwan and such. This does have English. A Western release is planned, but maybe quite a way off. Retail listings say May time, but I think that was before P-Cube said that they are redoing the English translation, because the problem is that the English in this release is properly dodgy. I mean, fair play to them for trying, but this transported me back to the 90s and even late 80s, where the English translation was low on the list of priorities in terms of quality control. I mean, you can understand what's going on. You can follow the story and dialogue very easily. That is not a problem. It's not gibberish or anything, but the amount of wrong words used, sentence structures being all over the place, bad spelling and such, may actually make this release legendary. It stands out like a hilariously sore thumb. I mean, it didn't bother me entirely. I'm very blasé about it personally. It was charming, and I need to give them mad props for the amount of British slang used here. I mean, I have never, ever seen the word bollocking used in a game before. Yeah, like give someone a bollocking. It almost gave me tears of nostalgia, being out of England for so long. The word feels like an old, long-lost friend. Knob shiner. Knob shiner. They actually call someone a knob shiner in this game, and I burst out laughing. I love it. The script is so poorly organized, but to me, it's legendary. It's also worth noting that in this release, the Asian release for definite, in the box there is a download code for an extra little game. It's a runner shmup based on this game featuring pixel art, and you know what? It's actually quite a lot of fun. If you get the code and you need to download it, then you need to access a Hong Kong eShop, and then you're golden. Just download it from there and you'll be fine. It's a basic shmup, but fun, and I really like the pixel work of how they've downsized all the enemies and characters and such. Alright, back to this game. In terms of visuals, well, it's obviously quite basic. This has not been a big budget production from Majors, the development team. You can see that. Basic menus for the outer dungeons, overly simplistic 3D graphics for the dungeon crawling. It's clear to see that more money was probably spent on the Danmachi license than the actual game development. I think more could have been done, even though this is a standard for the genre. You look at Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon, Omega Labyrinth's Life, they are always bare minimum in terms of graphics, especially in the Japanese games. The character art and still cutscenes are fantastically drawn, however, I have to give praise for that. The audio is quite good in my opinion. I have no idea if the music here is ripped from the anime show or what, but either way, I really enjoyed the music, even if I wish there was a few more different songs. I love the town theme, which instantly gave me massive hits of nostalgia for the original Suikoden, which is one of my favorite game soundtracks ever. The voice work is pretty good too, although it's only in Japanese. In terms of value, well, if you want this early English version, you have a few options. Firstly, you don't want the Japanese release at all, because it does not have English, but the recent Asian release does have English. How to get this one? Well, you can try a look with the Hong Kong eShop. It's 360 Hong Kong dollars, which is, I think, 46 US dollars, 35 pounds, and 42 euros with a 6GB download. That seems convenient, but I'm not aware of places that sell Hong Kong eShop credit, at least not internationally. I can get my hands on it, but I'm in China, so it's pretty easy for me. For those in the US or the UK, I have no idea where you would find it. But if I do find a place in the meantime, I'll pop a link in the description below. It may sound like a lot for something that looks this simplistic, but there is a decent enough story length, plus a quite impressive post-story content to experience. Perhaps the easiest thing to do, but the slowest option, is to import a physical copy from Hong Kong like I have here myself. There are options for both a standard edition as well as a collector's edition, which includes a plastic file, a soundtrack CD, an adventurer's guidebook, which is kind of like an art book I guess, plus an English print cover. There's even an add-on bundle, which you won't be disappointed to hear, has an ultra classy big boob 3D mousepad. You always know where you stand when a game offers a booby mousepad. If you want to import this Asian release, then there are links below in the description and the pinned comment. If you use these links, then you also help out the SwitchWatch team at the same time, because we will earn a small cut from each purchase. These really help improve the show, whether to buy equipment, software, and many of the game purchases that we do to review, including this one. Yes, I paid for this one due to your support in your affiliate links. Thank you. And by the way, we have a little special thing coming up right now. Yes, PlayAsia know that you guys have been amazing in your support and have offered us special code to give to you so you can get 5% off all your purchases. This is only for physical stuff, so no digital stuff like codes or anything. But if you want to import a game physically, then use our voucher SwitchWatch TV, all one word, SwitchWatch TV. Pop that in when you're checking out on PlayAsia and you'll get 5% off your purchase. And it's also worth noting that this will eventually get a Western release. I know listings online have stated May, but having spoken to P-Cube, the Western publisher myself, I think that was their original idea. But when I talked to them, they said that when they got their hands on this English version, it didn't gel with their standards. Yes, the English one is spotty to say the least. Serviceable for me personally, but I can understand where they're coming from, so they told me they are rewriting the whole translation, which will probably take a little bit of time. So you can either wait for the long term or import like myself, which I think it's worth it. The English is poor, but I was more entertained by it than anything else. Before we get into my final thoughts, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you are new here. We'll be giving away a Nintendo Switch Lite to one of you when we hit 50,000 subscribers. Plus, we have awesome weekly Switch content like the best Switch bargains, all the physical releases coming to the Switch, as well as all the important Nintendo Switch import releases. Overall, Danmachi Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon is a fun game in many ways. It appeals to me due to it having a genre that I quite enjoy. It's not a modern game for sure. Niche is a great word for it, but if you enjoyed the likes of Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon and Omega Labyrinth Live, but want a more all-action hack-and-slash version that's more pick up and play, then I think you'll definitely get a nice kick out of this one. It's not top tier, of course. It is very basic, and so it's not going to appeal to everyone, but the fan service is here. Laid back gameplay is something that I was happy to add to my collection. A 7 out of 10. Right now, I suggest you head over to watch my reviews of similar games to this one, kind of similar. As mentioned, Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon, Omega Labyrinth Life, they are just as good, maybe even better, plus they are awesome imports, kind of like this one. And check out my weekly physicals video too. It's a labor of love for myself. Not many people watch it, but those who do, love it. So give that a shot, and we'll see you guys over there. Take care.